Okay, so we have the wonderful Avery here, ready for another Q&A.
Oh,
I think we got a few more questions this time. Let me open up our question sheet and let me get some music playing because I did forget to do that.
yeah. Let me grab some water. My
Oh,
voice is a little.
absolutely. Get nice and comfortable. Yeah, this will work. Ah, yes, nice and relaxing. Let's get these questions pulled up.
All right.
Okay, good to go.
I think so.
I have some raging personal questions, actually. My FOMO has reminded me of so many questions that I do have.
Ah!
All right. So, if all is said and done and we're ready to ask the big questions,
Mm-hmm.
I can start with one that we actually did get on the Reddit because we got one single question on the Reddit from this.
I saw that question actually.
This feels like a properly appropriate question given some of the events of the recent recent episode. Um, so he says, "Why are the rules of Petornia mess around and others find out? Why isn't it mess around and find out for yourself?"
Ah, well, this answer goes a lot of places. So, uh, part A, there's going to be I think an A, B, and C of this answer.
Mm-hmm.
Part A is that there are a lot of sort of tangential effects through Petornia's mechanics,
Mm-hmm.
and so sometimes like they just kind of go a different direction than you might expect because they're very much so. Mm, no, that's not part of A. It's kind of like that. I wrote the rules and I stick by them because I want I want to keep it kind of true to what I have.
I think that makes
Like,
sense. Like you set up a world that follows a set of rules, right? And it only makes
mm-hmm,
sense to stick with those rules.
yeah. Also, I'm not gonna lie. For this one, I'm actually kind of nervous, and I don't know why. I've done.
No reason to be nervous. I'm only going to ask the hardest questions you've ever answered.
Yeah, yay.
No, but really, this is going to be fun. This is going to be fun.
Oh, it is gonna be a great time. I'm already super excited.
And
Um,
to add on to your previous point as well, I do also want to throw in my 2 cents of like, it feels like a lot of characters would be more hurt by seeing their party injured than themselves. At least that feels like a pretty common theme among characters. So, in seeing your party hurt, that is in a step you finding out, right?
mm-hmm. Well, and part B and C are actually both going to be examples in themselves. Um, so, for example, what I think one of the main things he might be referring to is something that happened in the Call of the Black Hills party where Jericho um, basically got the full consequence for Rome, Vis's character, giving the horse a smoothie made of some unfortunate things.
Oh,
And something to keep in mind is that I run a lot of those kinds of things through rolling tables,
right.
which is part of why it took 10 years to make Petornia what it is now. Like, there's so many rolling tables that go into other rolling tables. I have rolling tables I have to do for every single session of every game to sort of deal with effects from other parties and things like that.
You have rolling
So,
tables that tell you which rolling tables to roll on.
exactly. And so part of that is sometimes you just get lucky. and other people don't get so lucky. Like the effect that Smoothie could have had on the horse, and by proxy Jericho, which a lot of the questions are, how is Jericho soul bonded to the horse? But you picked a talking horse that's related to another important horse from history.
Lots of
And
horseception here.
yeah, well, I mean, I, see, this is the part where I feel like I'm bragging, but like, Petornia is massive, and there's like lore in so many things. Like, even the horses have a long and storied history.
Time to go ride some horses and learn about them.
So, like, it's kind of that thing where everything has a story.
Right. So
But,
the
sorry.
the like ultimate answer to this question then was just it's a matter of luck and happenstance where if you do something wild, you might feel those effects, or you might not. But the people nearby have to make those same checks essentially.
Mm-hmm.
I got you.
Because, like, on its deepest level, I like to think of Petornia as a player-run story that is mostly on my end, random happenstance, lightly guided in a direction I want it to go.
So do you?
Be-
No, no. Please finish that thought, and then I have a question about that actually.
Absolutely. Because I find it so much more satisfying when you guys guide the story more than I do. When you make it your story more than I make it mine.
So then, like, I know that there are overarching stories like Kishta, like Onscan being the brick in the wall, that we kind of fall subject to. Is there a written storyline that we are all characters following? Is there this through line that we just kind of modify by being our characters, or when you say that we make the story, are we dealing with Kishta now because of our actions with Dawn and all of that,
Um,
or is it both?
it is a little bit of both. Um, the example of Kishta is one of the more Avery guided situations because it it for the story of Arc 3 and every arc going on past that to have the theme I'm going for that you guys can then, sort of guide how it gets to the end because after Arc 3, it's up to you to decide kind of how we get to Arc 9 and what that's going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
But to have the setup there for you, the things in Arc 2 had to happen.
I don't know that we had any other questions on the Reddit, and I've checked crossovers and I don't see any there. So it's time for me to hit you with the hard hitting questions, and this here was a perfect segue.
Oh
Um,
no.
so did Dawn have to become Kishta, or could Kishta have been anybody?
There are a handful of beings that could become Kishta.
A handful. So
However, it should be noted that all of them were Dawn.
oh, so it was always going to be Dawn. Just who Dawn was would have been different potentially.
Hmm. It was based entirely upon who caused Dawn to form
Mm.
by taking over the Emerald Realm.
So the Dawn we know only exists because it was specifically Rome that took over the
Hmm.
Emerald Realm.
Mm-hmm.
So what if it would have been Babylon? Would Dawn have been a totally different character?
Yep. Dawn would have been completely different from how you know them.
So Babylon died in our last chapter. Did he have to?
Mm, he didn't have to right then, no. But I'm generally guiding all of the all of the old heavy lifting NPCs to their well-deserved rest.
Mm-hmm. What happens to all of them after they die in Petornia?
Mm, That's a that is a question. Well, a lot of them are like gods and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And gods have no heaven. Um so a lot of them sort of go off and their soul or soul equivalent will either hang around sort of the land of Petornia, um, or like in Iktar's case, because he sort of gave a mm, phrasing, because Iktar had close ties with mortals.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when he died, he's going to in some way, on some level, remain with them. Hence, what he said when he was offering the place of carrying the burdens.
So beings like Iktar that stick around, um, for for lack of a better term, are going to stay with the party he's chosen, whereas some of these other beings are just going to kind of hang around the land because they have nowhere else to go.
Hmm. So, like for example, Frula. Frula has no realm. There's no heaven for his soul to go to. So he will wander the earth yet again and forevermore until the realms are uncollapsed.
So why is it that they weren't immortal?
Well, true immortality, in a way that you can't die, I would say does not exist on any level for any being in Petornia.
Is that maybe a function of how people in Petornia can attain godhood rather than being born to gods?
Yeah,
Okay, that kind of makes more sense.
because it's sort of a thing of like, even you can live forever without death. Like, you'll never age. You'll forever be young and powerful. However, if something powerful, more powerful, or even less powerful, that can find a way to kill you, kills you, then you die.
Mm-hmm.
And that would apply to everything.
So then, that even applies to beings like time, destiny, on scan, all of them.
Mm-hmm. That applies to all of them. That applies to the sound. That applies to the web of fate. That applies to Kishta. That applies to everything.
Why? Okay, hold on. I feel like I'm just jumping from one question to the next really, really quickly. Let me slow down a little bit. Um, I'm curious about why. Kishta had so much respect for Anscan because her disciples showed no remorse when cutting down Frula, or when attacking Crowley, or when trying to kill Valdor, and even she herself was trying to kill Iktar at one point. So
Hmm.
why did she show such reverence for him while on the same hand trying to murder him?
Well, that is a fantastic question that I'm glad I get to get into. Um, because that's a very complex sort of uh range of emotions, and it it's part of trying to show that these characters are not just, one-dimensional catchphrase slinging information givers.
Right.
Because while Kishta has a job, her job is to be Kishta, but on a deeper level, she is her own being. And that being actually does care for Iktar because of who Iktar was, not just now, but in the past. Even though Dawn was recently born, she's always been, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because Dawn kind of represents a desire in many beings' lives of to become what you're destined, like it kind of represents predetermination and how meeting your fate is something to look forward to, something to work towards.
I
And
kind of.
Iktar, sorry.
Oh, no, no, no. If you had more, please go ahead.
Oh, of course. Um, and Iktar was sort of fateless. He was kind of pointless. When Onscan created Iktar, it was not because the world needed an Iktar. He brought no help to the balance. He was simply put there to be another example of suffering because he really didn't have all that much power in comparison to the other gods. He didn't have anything that he really did. He had no, like, there was nothing he could do for you because it's not like he was guiding your soul to another area. It's not like he was, punishing the sinners. He was, he was just there.
So
He
Anscan
was,
actually created Iktar when he created everything.
hmm same as Crowley.
What actually killed Iktar then? Because it wasn't old age, if that's the case.
It was not old age.
Was he injured when the group found him?
Yes.
Oh, we didn't even notice.
Well, and part of it was Iktar was he had kind of realized that there was no, I guess he had finally discovered something, and that he cannot change, he cannot control everything, he cannot protect everything, he can't ensure everything is safe.
Mm-hmm.
He had, he had realized that again. He'd realized it so many times in the past, but this time he saw it in a light, not that so that way everything is meaningless, but so that way everything is important. Hence why he was talking to you about doing what you essentially, he had realized that he could not do this, but he knew that others could. He knew he was too old. He was too jaded. He didn't have really the hope he needed anymore to try and keep the world alive. But he saw that young adventurers did, and he believed in all of you. And so essentially, he had kind of lifted the burden off of himself. And without that burden, he is no longer Iktar.
So it was sort of the release of this pressure and of his title of Iktar that really allowed him to just rest. That's what really took him.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, much more beautiful than just giving up, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's so sad. Oh, it's just so sad.
It has been rather sad. Even though I write it, it still hurts.
So, of all of the characters you've lost here really recently, um, who has really just stung the worst?
Um, Man, who's stung the worst? Frula definitely stung the hardest because he was, as I've talked about, he's an OG to end all OGs. Like
Mm-hmm.
he was the original character. There was no Petornia before Frula the Wanderer and his 7 lives.
Where does the character concept for, excuse me, for Kishta come from?
Hmm. Where does the character concept for Kish come?
And I guess a follow up question: why was this? There are a lot of characters that could have been a big bad, and they never had to be someone that the party was close with as one thing before they flipped into another. So I guess the heart of this question is, why wasn't Kishta written as a standalone character? Why was she written as a character that was born from Dawn?
I think, and not to pull behind the curtains, but I think because it's a more compelling story that way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If it's just this being that shows up out of nowhere and is like, I'm super powerful, come deal with it, like, there's not as much, there's not enough depth to that for me.
Right.
Especially, like, in the past, I had those characters, and those were fine, but, like, for what the telling of Arc 3 and on is going to be, and Arc 9 being the last arc, like this being how I'm wrapping up Petornia for good for me,
Mm-hmm.
like I feel like I need a more in-depth character because you knew Dawn. Most of the old people knew Dawn. They knew her curiosity, her kindness, how generally innocent she was. And the whole time it was kind of hinted at that it was going to end badly for her.
That actually is a wonderful transition to a question that I came into this with.
Mm-hmm.
So, in the two seats, there was a big push to try to find the best possible way of dealing with the whole issue of Dawn being taken and um, the Thousand Hands essentially converting her into Kishta, and it was just a really wild situation that Daedalus, uh, what was it, Rumrar? How was his name pronounced?
Rodron.
Rodron, right? Rodron Marimore, and and that was still, was that V at that point, or was it still
Hmm.
Lucian? It was V at that point. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So those three were trying to find a way to deal with that situation, and I remember, talking for hours a day leading up to that that session about what we planned to do. But it always felt like we could never reach the quote unquote good ending. We were always chasing that sort of stalemate ending. Was there
Mm.
ever a point where a good ending was written for that, or was that always meant to set up a large tragedy?
It was always meant to set up a large tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
Be- because of the theme of Arc 2,
Mm-hmm.
it very well for it to be bad no matter what, in the sort of absurdist matter of how it is an absurd situation that really is always just going to be ridiculous,
Then
but
I'm
you tried it and you played into the theme.
then I'm really curious, what, as a player, what would you have done approaching that sort of situation? Because I don't think I've ever had the pleasure of seeing you as a player.
Well, I've only ever been a player once so far.
Well, yeah, then I'm very curious to hear how you would have approached that.
Well, I would have to, I have to think of it in a way of like how I don't know anything. Like I don't know that it's guaranteed to be bad.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would have done something very similar to what you three did. I think I would have tried my absolute best to do whatever I can to stop it. Much like your characters, I don't think I would have accepted um that there was only ever one outcome.
Right. Yeah. I mean, sometimes it can feel very difficult, even as players that know there's
Hmm.
no better outcome. It can feel difficult to accept the one outcome is available.
Hmm.
In this, I feel like D&D is one of the few storytelling mediums where people get to learn more about themselves than they had previously known. Like, you can discover things about yourself in D&D.
Right.
So is there anything that running Petornia has taught you about yourself?
Um, yeah. I mean, it's taught me a ton of things about myself. It's also taught me a ton about just generally people.
So what
Like,
sort of things have you learned about people then?
I've learned that people have sort of an endless resolve, even like no matter how hard they're pushed against, they'll find a way to keep going. It is very sort of proven through kind of the like I think Kriv is a good example. Like his name is the struggler, and how against impossible odds he always tries to find a way to break through and solve a problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's also taught me that people are kind in very interesting situations. It also shows that people can hold on to things in ways I had never really expected. And also, it's taught me just how differently every person approaches situations.
So, with all that you've learned about people from this, how does that adjust the way that you tell stories to the different groups? Would you say that you approach each of your groups differently, or
I definitely do. However, I try to make Petornia the same anyway.
right?
It also has given me a thing that I've been trying to balance because when I was first started like really realizing this on a actually like conscious level rather than the subconscious one, I wanted to start I wanted to push the envelope further. I wanted to see like kind of I was like I want to know I want to go deeper into this. I want to explore it further. But at the same time, I don't want to, you know, rewrite the whole story so that way I can just experiment on how people react to different things because that sounds like a psychopath.
So,
Um,
uh, how do I even word this one? I've got a lot of questions about Kitria, because now it's not just the Guardians that have been there. This new group, which I don't think we've decided on the name, but I will just call them Iktar's Chosen until further notice. Um,
mm,
Iktar's Chosen have now dragged the Black Hills group to Kitria.
yeah.
So it's a very real place that people are starting to explore more and more. Um, do you have any plans for Kitria to play a large role moving through, arcs 3 through 9?
Arc 8 and Arc 9, Kitria will be paramount in how Petornia goes from there.
I know that you said that this is going to be a much slower burn, um, as far as leveling up, gathering resources, that sort of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, what sort of projections are we looking at as far as, we're in arc 3 and our characters are level 6? Come arc 4, do you have like level markers you want us to be at by the end of each arc, or is it more based on what we as a party decide to take on in each individual arc? Is it time based, or more milestone, or XP even? Like how do you plan to do that sort of thing?
It's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of that. It's kind of how you guys are taking the story and what you're doing and what your goals are, how you find yourselves, all of that. And un interest well, not interest. I don't want to make it seem like that. It's like a little bit of it is like kind of how your characters develop, not how they do it, but like the character development heavy ones I tend to appreciate more.
Mm-hmm. So there's definitely an emphasis on character development and role play, as far as all of that goes, is what you're getting at here.
Hmm. But also it is kind of time locked. Like I my intention is, and however this kind of works out exactly, I kind of want you to hit like level 10, maybe even level 12 around arc 6.
Oh,
And then
okay.
I plan for all of the arc 3 characters to be above level 20 by arc 9.
Gotcha. So then, and this question definitely is a lot more personal to the Guardians because it, I mean, it kind of only applies to. Actually, no. Before that question, are there any other Arc 2 parties that survived?
That is a hard question to answer.
Oh, oh boy. Okay, can I ask, did the Lavender Circle survive?
Again, that gets a little hazy because we're still kind of in talks about exactly what their characters are doing after, sort of everything.
Right.
So I don't really have one defined answer for that.
Gotcha. Okay. Man. Well, now I just want to check on them even more. um. Well, then to the question I was asking then, if that's sort of the rate of leveling of the parties now, do you foresee the Guardians leveling anymore at all? Because we are now level 22.
Hmm.
Um, and I mean, there's still so much time until Arc 9. What's our plan with? Actually, I know what Daedalus had planned to do with that time, but do you have a plan for the Guardians in that amount of time?
Well, part of it is just keeping them localized to Kitria
Mm-hmm.
before, like, because I, not to again pull behind the curtains, but what's going on in Petornia kind of needs to start from the ground up.
Right. Yeah, there's definitely a wrench in the plans if folks like Daedalus, Kriv, Thrug, and Zim show up. They're
Mm,
kind of above the power scale of these new parties, right?
yeah. Well, and also part of it would be like I don't I don't think anybody wants Arc 9 to start tomorrow.
Oh, absolutely not. That's so soon.
And so like cuz they could start triggering things like how in Arc 2 it went like you could speed run Petornia to Arc 9 and just kind of make it so.
Right. But that
Whereas
would
like
not be that wouldn't be favorable.
mhm. Whereas Kitria is so much more expansive physically. Like you can be really high level and kind of always be going out and doing crazy things and having life-threatening experiences because like and also part of it is generally just like the technology like no even if you're super high level getting black holes shot at you
Yeah.
is
It's kind of
oh,
very dangerous.
yeah. And I think part of it is that Kitria is kind of a blank canvas in a lot of ways. It still has a story to follow, but it's very much loose in comparison.
Would you say that maybe, since Petornia is the focus of everything, that's where you've got most of your notes and written material, whereas Kitria is very much you've got a set of rules and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, which is kind of how Petornia became what Petornia is. Like when I started running games, I didn't have anywhere near the level of like, taking the story in a direction. It
Right.
was more I have a set of mechanics, I have a set of rules. Come fuck around and do whatever you want. And
Which, yeah, that's probably one of the best ways to go about writing, a world that feels alive.
Yeah, and just letting them sort of live their characters' lives, follow the little mini stories I gave them, created the Petornia you see today. There's no, like, Petornia as it is now wouldn't exist had Arc 1 of, like, what you guys did not happen.
Speaking of the Petornia that we see today, I'm
Hmm.
curious about the Petornia that we didn't see because I know for a fact there are a lot of side quests that we just were not able to get to. It's just there was so much to do, which is
There,
again a
al-
very good thing.
there always are side quests that are lost to time.
Right. Like I know that there was something that the Guardians was that we were supposed to do with Chat Noir, but
Hmm.
there was no time given the collapse was inbound. Things were happening much sooner than expected, so that was one thing that got pushed off to the wayside. Of the quests that we didn't see, is there one that you really wanted to get into that we just never got to?
Mm. Yeah, it goes all the way back to Arc 1.
Oh, this predates a
And
lot of your players actually.
yeah. Well, and this was a thing that I wanted kind of all the parties to get into more, which was the Great Sands and Ensori,
Mm-hmm.
because Arc 1's era saw some big stuff going on there, and I really wish I could have got to play with that more.
That was the whole issue of like the Ensorian monks getting kicked out of their land and forming Ma, but then there was also Ensori was at war with the Great Sands, right?
Hmm. And Og was attacking Ensori, and there was a whole bunch of stuff going on.
That even felt tied to something that the Guardians were getting into with Og still attacking all of these lands and
Hmm.
even being tied to like the God of Kings and all of that stuff, right?
Hmm. It is very tied to all of that.
Man, that's it's everything so closely tied together in just the best possible ways.
Well, thank you. If you don't mind, there's something else I wanted to talk about on the broader subject of side quests getting missed.
Oh, absolutely.
And that is through the eras, that is sort of morphed into its own theme of Petornia, and I kind of like it. It's become sort of a thing of like you were in a place at a time that nobody else was at. There were other people at a different place at a different time that nobody else was at. And it's sort of this situation of like you kind of have a life experience, not exactly, but kind of, and you live the lives of these characters through this era and time. And when you die or you go somewhere else, or just simply that time has passed, there's not exactly going back, much like in, you know, real life.
Hmm.
And I find that very, mm, I find it beautiful in a way.
It's sort of like um, I'm not sure if you've ever played Final Fantasy or I guess any JRPG, um, but there's this running theme in them where you will hit a certain point in the game where you progressing means that you can't go back and do some of the stuff that's available to you now. And it'll
Hmm.
always say, "Are you sure you'd like to proceed?" And there is something challenging about accepting, taking that jump and moving on, knowing that you're leaving some things behind that you aren't going to be able to return to.
Hmm.
I think it's something bittersweet because you get closer to your goal, right? But also there's something that you're leaving behind, and you feel like I don't want to say a failure, but you feel like there's more you could do, right?
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's the thing with Petornia is it's not replayable.
Mm-hmm.
because it moves on like real time. You can't, you'll just never see that era again.
Yeah, there's no running Petornia again.
And I guess for me, I don't see it as much of like it, like you're missing something as much as it is what you did see. It's sort of a thing of like you you had the experiences you had, and like that's almost the way it had to go,
Mm-hmm.
because with those exact experiences you wouldn't have the same ones that you did now.
Yeah, it would be a different life, right?
Yeah. And there's always the mindset of like, oh well, I could have gotten better. But the reality of it is the way that you're, like, the frame of mind you would be in, like, it's the only way it could go. There's endless possibilities, but you would have such a less, I don't think the story would be as fun if you spent the entire time figuring everything out rather than following a story.
Mm-hmm. If we were to try to optimize the fun out of the game, it would certainly the narrative would suffer, I think.
Hmm.
So, is there anything that you always do to prep for a session?
There's so many things.
Well, okay. Let me be more specific. Is there anything you do personally as a little ritual before a session? Like I know I always grab a cup of water or I go get maybe a soda or something to drink because that's like my little pre-session snack and that just kind of, you know, when I sit at my desk with my nice little drink or I get some food and I sit at my desk, I feel like I'm ready to sit down and really get in the headspace of Daedalus or Apollo. Is there anything like that for you?
Yes. The first part of it is, I guess, kind of embarrassing, but it's for my voice more so than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I grab a pillow and I just like try to scream as gutturally as I can to really like open it up. Because I don't talk a lot, like in real life.
Mm.
I don't talk to very many people. I don't like, I like, even when I'm at work, I'm pretty quiet. So to prepare my voice to be active, I like just really try to open up the vocal cords.
I never would have guessed that. I definitely relate on not talking very much. um, in general.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's such a real mood.
The other thing I do is I will go through really old Petornia notes,
Mm-hmm.
and I will look at my old writing, and then I'll look at my new writing, and then I'll look at like the old experiences players had, and then I'll look at the new ones, and it will give me such a fire and passion to do Petornia still. And I don't really know why, but it's like, how can I put this? It's like the different generations are all, they all can talk about the time they had in Petornia. And the idea of that I love so much.
I do think it's very interesting how we now have. Do you still have players from before like Arc 2, right? Because Thrug played before Arc 2, if I remember correctly.
Hmm.
Yeah, so there
Well,
are these.
your party started in Arc 1.
Did we start? Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Because that was the I for some reason my brain put Arc 1 and 2 together into one like mega arc. Yeah, so I mean you've still got parties from Arc 1, and then I assume that there were parties that joined in Arc 2, but I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, there were parties that joined in Arc 2.
Yeah, so now we have at least three tiers of, when people joined that have all seen the world at different points, I suppose. And you even have
Mm-hmm.
characters from each of those tiers that are still alive, even though we just lost, a lot of them. And even before them, though, we have Crowley who can talk about the world in one way or another. So you have this sort of layered history aside from the timeline that kind of tells
Mm-hmm.
the story of the world. And I think that's really interesting.
I think the part I like most about that whole situation is the experiences of the NPCs and keeping those in mind when they're interacting with new adventurers.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way you see them, they're much more sort of monotone and jaded and just less interested than they would have been a long time ago. They're a lot more hasty. They're a lot less. They're different, and I
Mm-hmm.
have to bear that in mind all the time when I'm running them, is that they're not who they used to be.
So, what drives that change in a lot of your characters? Is it the sort of melancholy state of Petornia as a whole?
I think it's just what happened in the past and what's happening now. It's kind of a thing of that they're tired. They can't do it anymore. And if they can't do it to the same level they used to.
Mm-hmm.
Like a great example of is Crowley. Crowley was probably the most invested of really any of them.
And it's funny you say that because I would have thought it was Iktar just because of how involved he was, but it being Crowley makes sense with what you're saying about how they change.
Hmm. Like Iktar was physically involved probably the most, but mentally he was kind of just checked out. And he has been since the previous Arc 4. Like he just never recovered from what happened then.
Mm-hmm.
And so he sees all the hope in you guys, but still he knows that no amount of hope is going to just rectify everything.
So, with the previous generation of NPCs, world carriers, fading away, and this new generation of adventurers sort of taking their place, right? Um,
Mm,
First of all, how many parties are there in what is this Arc 4? Yeah, in Arc 4.
Arc 3.
This is Arc 3. Okay, hold on. I have too many numbers going around. Arc 3. How many players are there in Arc, or how many parties are there in Arc 3?
There are 3.
Oh, only 3.
Yep, only 3 so far.
I don't know why I made up that there was at least 4.
I'm working on it.
Too many numbers in my head, I'm telling you, man. So, with there being these, I guess, these 3 parties now that are taking on the burden of, I guess, all of everything, how much crossover do you see between the 3 parties? I mean, the Iktar's Chosen and the Black Hills have already crossed over once. But how much overlap do you see with crossover with the third group, and then maybe with all 3 as well?
Not too much.
Would you say it's
At
more
least.
separate than previous arcs?
Absolutely. because that's part of it's more local. It will be,
Hey, hold on just a second. We're having a little bit of audio lag
which
there.
is why
Uh oh.
I'm trying.
Hold on. Okay, try again now. Well, that's no good.
So it's not over
Oh,
the older age, getting to know it is just another when you needed to really band early together to it's going to be more of a situation of like, let me like read stuff together to do this is something. No, it's not like this.
oh boy. Okay. I think Discord just decided to catch up. Are you there? Uh oh. Well, hold on just a second.
Man,
Okay. We are back. So I believe the last thing that you were saying was just that there won't be a lot of crossover or overlap this time because things will be more localized, but we kind of lost everything after that.
ah, I gotcha. Yeah, things will be a little more localized. I am planting the seeds right now to try and like um make sure everyone like
Oh no, it's happening again. Oh boy.
you get into later arcs and things are starting to get more serious and a little bit broader. Are you losing me again?
Oh, just disappeared entirely. That's not good. Okay, I guess we'll be right back one more time.
I might
Welcome
hope
back.
so.
Welcome back.
I'm back from the internet shadow realm.
The internet shadow realm, where nothing returns except for Avery.
Yeah, well, you know.
All right. I forget where we even were. I'm gonna be honest. Um. Oh, everything's being localized. Things are getting more intense as we get closer and closer to season 9, or arc 9.
hmm Uh, yeah, it's like things are getting closer, things are building up. The story's really sort of ramping up, and it's becoming crazy again. Then it'll be a thing of like, oh, we can reach out to the other parties and start working on stuff.
Right. Okay. So as we sort of establish ourselves individually, there will be more time to focus on ourselves individually. But then as we get closer and closer to dealing with the big issue, it'll be one of those things where teamwork becomes a bit more important, and we can sort of call upon that.
Exactly.
Mm. So, are there any pressing questions that you have for your players?
Oh boy. Pressing questions for my players. Hey there, how you all doing? I'm your DM. Haven't haven't talked to you in a while, you know. Just look at all your beautiful faces. Yeah, why are you guys all so awesome? Why are you so sweet and kind all the time? Some
Joke's
of
on
the fun
you. I planned on killing all your NPCs.
That's fine, I'm helping. Um, why are you so funny? Why are you so smart? Why do you outwit me all the time? I I don't know. It's frustrating how kind you all are.
Okay, well, follow up question. Do you have any questions regarding decisions that some of your players have made? Like, has there been anything done that just confuses you, throws you through a loop, anything like that?
Well, one of the big ones is BIM 4. And uh why the decision was to non-violently take care of him. I'm genuinely curious.
I've been curious about that as well, honestly, and honestly, how it happened, because I think the Guardians were more or less just told that he's no longer a threat, he's a cat now, but I never, I don't think we ever went to see him or asked exactly how that went down, but I have been curious about it.
Yeah. I mean, I've talked about it before that he was kind of a red herring all along.
Mm-hmm.
The Lavender Circle essentially got a manifest potion and manifested him into being a normal house cat with no power.
A manifest potion.
hmm From the dream realm.
Time to go get a manifest potion and manifest Kishta back into Dawn.
Well,
If only it could be that easy.
it, well, that's part of why Kishta doesn't follow any of the rules that Petornia has.
Right. I mean,
She
she's
runs,
she's the big bad. She's got to have some immunities, right?
yeah, she runs off her own magic, so she doesn't have to. She has a get out of jail free card for basically whatever she decides.
All the way up until the narrative says it's time for her to die.
hmm
Kishta
I'm
got
curious.
that good plot armor.
I am curious how everyone plans on dealing with Kishta.
Yeah, yeah, so am I. Because, I mean, obviously, I can only speak for Daedalus's and Apollo's plans for dealing with Kishta, right?
Yeah.
So I am curious how the other player characters see Kishta and exactly what they plan to do regarding dealing with her fate wise.
Yeah,
Like there will be groups that probably don't want to fight her at all. There will be groups that see it as an absolute necessity. There will be groups that want to kill her, groups that want to redeem her. I'm just curious where everybody lands on that sort of spectrum.
exactly.
Can I ask, um, knowing full well that this will not adjust how I sit on it, but can I ask how you would approach Kishta at the end of the day? Just knowing
Mm.
what we know as players so far.
Well, I guess that begs the question of what who knows as players.
Um, I'm going to say the Guardians because that's my best frame of reference.
I gotcha. Um, well, from the Guardians' perspective, they know that before Kishta it was Dawn. And I think that I would have a very similar sort of idea to that of like wanting to find a way to peel the layer of Kishta off
Mm-hmm.
and back to the Dawn. I think the only difference is I would probably try to look for um lore on that and how that would be possible.
Right, because I find a common theme amongst the solutions available in Petornia is that lore is a large driver for what works and what doesn't.
Hmm.
That I think that became a huge part of Daedalus as a character was becoming sort of enraptured with the lore of the land, especially with the Ensorian monks, and I'm always going to forget this character's name, but the guy who was a soldier but ended up settling down in Elfwood. Speaking of, I should send Apollo to check on him. It's been 500 years, so he's probably long dead, but it's still worth checking.
Hmm.
Actually, no, that raises another question. I
What's
found
up?
I found that a lot of characters that are now 500 plus years old are still alive. Characters like Solomon,
Hmm.
um, and I mean skeleton makes sense. He's a skeleton, but Solomon's just a human, if I remember correctly. Um,
He I'll answer that with he was just a human.
oh, okay. I need to check his neck and teeth.
Because part of the collapse is that all of these sort of immortal beings were dropped into the living realm, and there was some cross pollination.
Hmm. Well, then that might answer my question. I was going to ask how many or how so many of these characters continue to live because Rorden even is still alive.
Hmm. Roran is a different story.
Oh,
Um, since I'm doing a tell-all here, is alive exclusively because I love the meme too much.
oh, okay, good. Yeah, no, that's honestly the best reason to keep Rorden around. He's too funny. What about
Yeah,
his head chef though?
I've been debating about that one.
I can't wait to see if he has an extremely sad grave, or if he somehow is still a slave to Rorden.
He's somehow, and he still talks like this. I'm sorry, sir.
He hasn't aged a day over 16.
Yeah, he's still prepubescent somehow.
516 and still going through puberty. So in the last uh I don't know what to call them, chapter, episode, session, we'll say session. In
Hmm.
this last session, the omnidirectional multiversal elevator of amazingness broke. badly.
Mm-hmm.
99% sure it's because of Daedalus and or not Daedalus, because of Asta and Apollo. Um,
No,
no.
no,
Oh, I assumed that the realm we left it in just left it damaged.
no, that is not. I did some spicy storytelling moves, and decided, hey, you guys don't need to go anywhere at any time for any reason you so desire.
That makes sense, especially considering what you were saying about Petornia needs to stay in Petornia, Kitria needs to stay in Kitria. The two don't need to really cross over very much right now.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good time for it. It's too early to let players be running around wherever they want.
Might create for some very drastic early game moves, such as staring directly at the sound.
You know, you know.
You know how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that's just kind of Petornia. No matter what incentive I give you to be safe or go somewhere else,
You said
typically
safe.
people want people kind of want to stare at the sun.
Yeah.
I can't stop you.
Um, so here's a logistical question that doesn't really matter all that much, but I am curious about it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that Kishta decided to destroy the sound.
Mm-hmm.
Would that also be the end of Kishta, or would she be able to take their place and hold that power? What would happen there?
Well, actually, that would not negatively affect her in any way at all. All it would do would that would just kill all magic in Petornia.
Oh, but it wouldn't destroy Petornia, just the magic.
Yeah.
I'm sure that would have a lot of terribly negative effects on a lot more than just, casting a spell. But
Mm-hmm. It's not like Petornia just explodes when the sound dies,
right,
but it definitely begins to die.
gotcha. Well, then High City becomes much, much more important.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna send Daedalus to kill the sound now. I don't need them.
I
um,
don't need.
so I think Iktar is the only dragon I can think of the group having met or interacted with at all. Um, are there more dragons that we've run into and just didn't know, or are there dragons that are slipping my mind?
Are there dragons that are slipping your mind? I don't
Well,
think so.
because I know of Icarus, obviously,
Right.
but I think that's kind of different because it's a player companion, not you know a world altering dragon.
Mm-hmm. There is the black dragon
Oh
from
yeah,
the.
yeah. Oh well, that guy's. Oh, he can't die though.
Not really.
Not without Rome's Rome's scythe, apparently. Um. Wow. So yeah, there's just the black dragon. That's the only one.
However, that's mostly because Lemgut and Mach are the only two places that really have a lot of dragons.
Mm. Oh, so there are more in existence.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
They're just generally localized.
Oh, we did meet more because we were gonna have them help us fight City.
Ah,
I forgot about
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Which there's a whole lore reason why dragons don't go and burn down villages anymore in other places, but that's kind of lost to history as well.
Give us the lore. It's a Q&A.
I most certainly will. Give me one hot second.
Okay. One. No, no, take your time.
Sorry, I had people banging on my door again.
Hey, no worries. So,
Mhm.
what's this lore about the the dragons and why they no longer raid?
All right. Um, Lie, I hope you're not listening right now because I'm about to spoil Shadow Walker lore.
Oh boy.
So, a long time ago, dragons were a massive problem in Petornia. Like, every town you went to, there was dragons somewhere doing something fucky.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they were just kind of generally just the biggest menace. People didn't really know why. So eventually the Night Guard got a hold of the Angels, and the Angels were like, "Don't worry, we'll come deal with this." And a party went with them, while another party decided that they were going to go get demons, and were like, "Fuck these dragons, we're gonna kill them all." So they marched up to their where they lived in Lemgut, and they noticed that there was a massive amount of Goliaths that were essentially eating dragons and eating dragon eggs and everything. There were also sort of warmer conditions that were going on, but that's a whole other story for another day.
Mm-hmm.
But what had happened was all of these angels and demons kind of met here, and they kind of found a unity through these parties. These parties convinced them to join on the same side to fight these dragons because uh well, the angels were doing it out of the good of their heart, but the demons were promised some delicious, delicious soul juice of the dragons. So they were kind of like they kind of made a truce, and they fought a lot of dragons, and eventually they discovered why the dragons were having this whole thing, which led to kind of a Goliath genocide, which is another thing that's kind of lost to history, which is why, like, rather than towns and stuff up there, you just find roaming nomadic tribes. And that's why every once in a while when you're up there, you'll notice like castles and stuff that have been abandoned.
Mm-hmm.
Um, But yeah, that kind of left the Goliaths as a broken bunch. The giants were also a big problem. That's why there's virtually no giants left. Um, but they also found these like elder dragons that had set up sort of their own meeting area, and they had their own vaguely dragon kingdom. And it was a thing where like all of the dragonborns back then, if you were a dragonborn, you knew of this whole kind of thing going on. You knew of the dragons and their council, and that you could go hang out with them and talk to them. And all of this sort of culminated in a negotiation between the parties and the dragons and their council. And the dragons had kind of come to an understanding, and then a lot of the angels and demons had kind of found love with each other, which led to a big thing where they started sort of intermingling some of them. Others disapproved of this, and there was sort of a very complex war that raged for a little while, which kind of saw the parties saying, well, this isn't our problem anymore. So they left. The dragons got called back by the Dragon Council to help deal with this issue. And at the end, they kind of saw a truce between all three parties. Many of the angels went home, many of the demons went home, but some stayed. And the dragons all kind of talked to these two, and they thought, what if we started our own sort of haven and our own sort of group, and we talked to each other, and we sort of had an alliance. And also, the children of these angels and demons came out as these sort of strange beings that were very strong, but they also had some pretty heavy weaknesses to particular things. And in the end, they all kind of, well, eventually the angels and demons got called back by their various deities, but their children remained, and the dragons sought to take care of these children, and they grew into becoming the Shadow Walkers, which for a long time also had ties with the Night Guard.
Mm-hmm.
But through that whole complicated thing is why mostly dragons stick to the north.
So one question I kind of have is, I know a lot of groups start to settle down and form alliances and build groupings with all sorts of different, NPCs, other characters and whatnot. And a lot of times that sort of stuff starts to trickle into the way that we all approach problems. But I've been
Mm-hmm.
finding that recently, oh, excuse me.
No.
Sorry. I've been finding that recently a lot of our problems have been approached more from an individual level, where it's very much up to the the player characters to deal with the challenges ahead of them. And I get the feeling that that's absolutely intentional, and that there is more of a push for our individual characters to tackle these issues rather than relying on other people to help us out. And I was just curious, was that intentional, or is that just how things have fallen so far?
Part of it is intentional because it kind of ties all back into the whole thing. Like the old NPCs and old PCs that are NPCs now are dying.
Mm-hmm.
So they're passing on the torch to deal with these issues to you. So that's a big part of it. But also natural, it's kind of just a natural thing that's been happening.
Mm-hmm. Um, I have 1,000 questions, but phrasing them is, I think, the hardest part here. How how exactly do you see the groups progressing as we travel through Arc 3? Because, at least with Iktar's Chosen, I know that we kind of just finished up our main quest. Like, I feel that the group may be expected, once we find Iktar and we speak with Crowley, they're going to be sort of our de facto quest givers for a while. We're going to keep reporting back to them, and that's sort of how things will progress. But what actually ended up happening was we caught this curveball of a plot twist that, oh no, you're reuniting them so that they can pass away now, which was super surprising. Definitely caught me off guard, and I think was a super interesting twist. But it also left me confused on how to continue progressing with my group. So I guess the proper way to word this question is, what do you see for our group moving forward?
I mean, generally, I see a lot more like talking to like for your group in particular, like talking to Solomon, talking to Skeldon, talking to Chat Noir, seeing what they're talking about, seeing what they're doing, them kind of sending you on these quests, which will teach you more, your characters more about what's going on, and by that you'll kind of learn and grow into the new Iktars and Crowleys and all of that of the world.
So there are still characters for each of these groups to sort of return to, that have more knowledge of
Mhm.
what the world needs. So I guess to even pad out that question a bit, um, our characters, we still definitely rely on, how do I word this? We still rely on people that know more about the world than we do to continue to progress, right? Um, is there Do you already know where you want our characters to end up by the end of Arc 3? Or is that something where we need to start to discover that through the NPCs that we have access to?
Yeah, I mean, it is so much up to you guys and where you take the story. I'm gonna, because it's kind of an open-ended question of like where to now,
Mm-hmm.
because and I know it seems kind of uh directionless, I guess, but I guess that's kind of part of the point because it's like, okay, we're I'm trying to kind of play into the idea of like, all right, we're doing, it's our job to carry these burdens. How do we do that? And it's like, how do you do that? And
Mm-hmm.
trying to, like, I kind of want to let your characters figure that out. And I'm trying to rely less on NPC intervention and explanation. Like I'm thinking of this more so as like, for example, like Solomon is like, hey, I've got this thing I need you to take care of, and you go take care of it, and while doing so, there will be things that will kind of show you the way of what that was and what was going on and why
Right.
it's going.
Okay. What? Okay, hold on. Let me back up a little bit because this is a
Sorry.
completely unrelated topic.
Yeah.
What has been your happiest moment in all of Petornia so far?
Oh man, my guy out here asking the big questions.
I'll make it easier. What has been your happiest moment in every arc so far?
Oh man,
I like to
that's
think
a
that's easier, actually. I like to think that's easier, but it might not be.
well. I'm just thinking of like happiest. What is the happiest moment? I know this is gonna sound weird, but I think the collapse in Arc 2,
And
not
why?
because, sorry.
I was just gonna ask, why is that?
Well, I think it's like, I think it's because of what it meant. Before you could have a spring, you have to have a winter. And Arc 3 as a whole is, I've noticed, is a lot more positive, which is good because that's kind of what I was hoping for. Because it's like a thing of like, uh, the torch is being passed and you're starting to bloom into your new and the new world. And I know it seems sort of rough now, but the people your characters will grow into is going to be absolutely fantastic.
It's definitely one of those things where you have to know how to see the um the growth for what it is, right?
Yeah, because I guess another way of phrasing that is in a question, which is like, do you think it would be, do you think things would be as good or go, how do you think things would go if all of those old NPCs were still around?
Um, is this a rhetorical question or is this a question for me now?
This is a question for you now.
I think if we still had those other NPCs around, right? I think it would
Mm-hmm.
be one of those things where those NPCs a lot of the do a lot of the heavy lifting, where we act as, as player characters, we act as support for the things that they need to get done, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So I think in Arc 3, where NPCs are going to come up to you and be like, like, hey, I've noticed this problem. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm solving that problem, which is actually a bigger problem. And they tag along as support for you, I find a lot more compelling. And I find it, I think it would be more satisfying when you're the ones that know and you have NPCs and these new beings and these new characters asking you, you know, what do we do? How do we help? What's going on?
There's definitely a different level of engagement there, right? Where
Mm,
the players begin to drive the story rather than the NPCs we're interacting with.
mm-hmm. I guess in a way, I'm sort of turning you into the quest givers, but also you're still doing the quest.
We're making our own work.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you said that you've only had a chance to play once, and you've kind of tossed around the idea of having somebody else DM Petornia while you play, right?
Their interpretation of it, yes.
Is this something that you would want to be canon in the Petornia storyline?
That would be up to them if they want to, you know, because I kind of like the idea of like just memeing on it, but also if they want to like really try to run a canon event, I'm totally down with that as well.
Can you tell me a bit about the character you'd like to play in that case?
Oh man, I've been trying to put a lot of thought into this, and I like the idea of an Ensorian monk, um, who has sort of given up on his pacifist ways and is now he's kind of generally given up on a lot of things and his old morals and wants to go out and experience every part of the world and see what he's missing out on.
Hmm. Are there any characters like that, actually? Are there any Ensorian monks that have kind of drifted from their pacifist path?
Well, actually, yes. And you've interacted with them.
Have I? Okay. Okay.
The the samurai that you guys met who gave Zem rebirth
Oh.
is actually almost the exact character I'm talking about.
Oh. That's really interesting. I didn't know that. I don't think any of us had clocked him as an Ensorian monk.
Exactly.
Yeah, I suppose he wasn't anymore. Have you thought about specifically what era of Petornia you would want to play in?
Mm,
Like, would you play Arc 3 post collapse? Or would you throw yourself back into Arc 1 or 2 and see how you react to those sort of events? What would you prefer?
I kind of like the idea of letting like whoever DM'd it decide that because I find the idea of like me being like, "Yep, I just want to play this era," kind of mm, because there's not really a particular era that I really love more than any other.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it'd be interesting for the Guardians to take one of our Arc 2 sessions and flip that around to one of us DMing the rest of the Guardians running into you. I think that'd be interesting. There's something there. I might have to have everyone roll back to level 15 for a thing. That sounds interesting. I think that's something that we could do.
I like the idea of that.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to run it by the rest of the group, of course. Got to get everyone's permission, whatnot. At least run back to level 20. Of course, it's
Well,
also going to depend on how powerful you want to be, and of course, you know all of your custom homebrew subclasses and whatnot.
yeah. Well, and that's part of it is that I've been trying to think of a character that I would play that I metagame.
Right.
like the character I can cheat the least with.
Well, and on top of that, a DM would definitely need your notes of creatures that do and don't exist, right? Because there's a lot of homebrew as far as you look at Limgut, there are the stumps, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and the Wendigos and stuff like that you won't find a stat block for.
Right.
Versus, I couldn't just throw like here. Let me open up one of my books here. Monster Manual, perfect. Just turn to a random page here. If I just said, "Oh, you walk in and there is an Oni," actually that might really fit into your world. That would actually work out really well, especially in Ensori.
Well, I was gonna say there are Onis in Insori.
Or like a salamander, like an elemental fire lizard snake thing. It just doesn't feel, this specifically doesn't feel very Petornian.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think there are things in here that do feel like they would exist in Petornia. So maybe my point does not stand there.
I mean, to be fair, a lot of like as much as there are many homebrew things, there are also things that are just from like, and even if they're not exactly the same, they're pretty close.
Right. Oh, this is really cool. I
Like
didn't know that this was a thing.
you can run into like mimics and stuff.
Okay, let's put that book away. Okay, here's a question not in Petornia. Do you have a
Ooh.
favorite video game?
Well, I've only played a couple of video games in my life.
And of them, have there been any that have just, stuck out?
Hmm. Well, I think Skyrim is a pretty big one.
That's a pretty solid choice.
I love Skyrim.
Lots of respect for Skyrim, for good reason. What about do you have any books that you've really enjoyed? Or books or movies, they're kind of a bit adjacent, right?
Oh man. I have a book that actually caused me to start writing Petornia, but I can never remember what it's called. It's like, and it's in a series, but we never, like, we got it at like a thrift store, and it wasn't like like, and it was like a very unpopular, just random book I found that looked cool.
Mm-hmm.
Um, something Quest.
Maybe Adventure Quest?
Mm, I think it was called Conquest.
Conquest. Oh, we're gonna have to do some research on that.
I'm doing, I'm looking right now.
Oh, fastest research in the West.
Conquest book. Conquest. And oh, that kind of looks like it.
I don't think I enjoy this song very much.
Oh my gosh. Wait. So this and another one which is called have you ever heard of the Ranger's Apprentice series?
Never.
Oh my gosh. That that those books that my aunt and I used to read are they are so paramount in the founding of Petornia.
Why is that?
don't know. I love them so much. They're some of the books that I've really like. They just took me so into another world. They immersed me so much
It's
that
it's because Ranger is best class, right?
Ranger is the best class.
Oh yes. See, you heard it here. It's official. Q&A confirmed. If you play Ranger, you're going to be the best Petornia player. Let's go. Me and Zim all the way.
If you play a Ranger, you win Petornia.
Yep, that's why the Guardians did so well. We had two Rangers.
Yeah, that's really it's the best way.
It had nothing to do with anybody's decisions. It was all about if you decide to play Ranger, really.
Exactly. There's really, I mean, what more?
Yeah, what other decision can you make?
I'm gonna find. Ah, yes. Okay, I've found the Ranger's Apprentice books. Let me. Let me go ahead and send those to you.
Oh, I'm excited.
Mostly the first one because it is. I don't know. I don't have a good reason as to why it's so near and dear to my heart, but it really is. It just. I love them so much.
Well, I mean, that's been answered. It's because Ranger's the best class. It should always be near and dear to your heart.
Yes, right. Of course.
Oh, there's a 12-book set though. That's really cool.
I remember reading all of those with my aunt, and I love them. I just love them.
They look like really good reads. Are these like young adult sort of adventure? That's what it looks like, yeah.
Yeah, roughly.
I mean, the entire 12-book set ranks 4.9 stars out of 5, so that's pretty good rating.
Yeah, I don't know. I just love the story they tell.
That's really cool. Ruins of Gorland. That's amazing. I actually think I want to read all of these now. Everybody,
That
your
was
new homework is to read The Ranger's Apprentice. You'll get 1 level if you read them.
if you read the entire series and give me an accurate synopsis, I'll give you a level.
Yo, say less. I was gonna read it anyway. Oh man, actually you can read the first 10 pages of Ruins of Gorland on Google as a preview for free.
Oh, the second book is definitely my favorite.
I'm buying the 12-book set. What you mean? I need to read all of them. I need more. I need
all
12
of
more
them.
books.
Yeah, no, I love those so much. I don't know. I just keep saying I sound like a broken record, but I do. I love them with such a passion.
I mean, yeah, no one can blame you. That's amazing looking reads.
Um, but yeah, if you read those, you're reading the inspiration behind Petornia and that one book, Conquest, if I could ever find it. That book in particular is kind of in a weird way, it gave me inspiration for Frullo the Wanderer.
Conquest. Yeah, that's yeah the. Oh, that's not a Ranger's Apprentice. You're saying that's a separate book altogether. Hold
Yeah,
on.
no, that's its own thing. I can't find the Conquest books to save my life, but they're just like I don't even know if there were. I don't know if they were like many of them published or anything. Like
Oh,
they were so random happenstance.
there's so many books called Conquest as well. Yeah, that's gonna be a tough find. Mm-hmm.
I might be able to find it. I still have a copy of it. Well, the copy of it I got.
So I have an Arc 1 question.
Oh,
Did you expect Arc 1 to end as quickly as it did?
no, I did not.
In the world where things went as you timed, where would we as players be right now?
Uh, Arc, right at the end of Arc 2.
Okay, so our timing still was pretty aligned with what you were thinking.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Okay,
I compensated for Arc 2, I mean Arc 1 with Arc 2.
gotcha. That explains why we spent so much time developing character and deciding our own path toward the beginning, and the Kishta stuff sort of ramped up as we found that stuff. That explains that quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Which I mean, it was always, you know, find your own path, develop your character. This arc is about you. Um, but the like explaining, you know, that gap in arc one explains why we had so much time on the front end to really just spread out and explore our characters and our interactions with one another, which I think was very nice to have.
Well, that's I'm I'm glad that you had a good time with that.
What have you enjoyed most about the first two arcs?
Mm. Arc 1, I definitely sorry.
Oh no, it's fine.
I definitely enjoyed the getting back into the rhythm that Arc 1 had
Mm-hmm.
because IRL it had been like 2 or more years since I'd ran Petornia or anything D&D related.
Mm-hmm.
So it was fun finding my rhythm again and getting back into it and starting to tell the story. It was also very scary realizing that I was opening up a massive can of worms. Arc 2, it was definitely getting to see players interact with the theme and starting to know stuff and like, oh yeah, we'll just go talk to this guy and just doing it. Like they could like having the players having direction was very fun.
Mm-hmm. I think for context, my favorite part was definitely seeing. Well, my favorite part of Arc One was getting to explore the world, right? Because I had never seen any of that before.
Hmm.
But then my favorite part of Arc Two was getting to explore how our characters interact with one another, because so many personalities were starting to, unfold. Right? We had uh, we had Gary, who was like this amazing, caring, just awesome, down to earth orc. But then in the heat of battle, there was this whole other side of him that plagued him as a character and something that he battled with pretty heavily. And I was really excited to see how that ended up. Um, there was at that point he was still Lucian, who was kind of jaded with the world as a whole, but learning to open up and trust people more readily. There was Rome, who was like always excited to get out and explore the world more, but maybe a bit too hasty with some of the decisions that he made. There were so many characters that overlapped and were just so complex and deep, and I was so excited to see how each and every one of them grew as an individual. Um, and I think that was my favorite thing about Arc 2. I feel like the world we inhabit just facilitates so much growth as characters. You know.
Not to toot my own horn, but I think Vis said it best when he told me that the world will give you a backstory.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
Um, so there
Oh,
are three groups now, each kind of experiencing the world post collapse in our own individual ways. Um, I think that Iktar's Chosen would benefit from a more holistic view of what Petornia looks like now because we all have seen it before the collapse, and I don't think we've taken a second as a group to step back and look at what the world is now. So, could you take this moment to tell me a bit about how the collapse has changed Petornia? What differences we might be seeing all around us and just not noticing yet?
yeah. It's definitely there's not as much structure as there used to be. Governments are loose. The idea of nobility is low, except for in Og, because Og was able to kind of fend off most of the issues that it ran into or push it out. But also, there's generally a bigger concept of like like it's been 500 years and people are still not like they still haven't found their way back to anything really. Things are the way life was has been completely kind of changed and interrupted. It's hard to go and settle down somewhere because there's demons roaming around all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to like when your family passes away, it's hard to deal with that because they're not, for a fact, and everybody knows this, that they're not going on to some greater plane. Their soul is just going to wander around.
And that's specifically because of the collapse.
Yeah. And like faith in gods is different than it used to be because your gods are stuck here with you.
So, with your with the way that you plan for things to progress, right?
Mhm.
Is there does the timeline involve us correcting the collapse before we deal with Kishta, or is it during or after? What's the timeline there?
Uh, that's going to kind of depend on what you guys decide to do, how fast you pick up on different things that are happening, as fast, like faster than you like learn lore, those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
Because like an Arc 2 party, like for example, the Guardians could be like, oh, like had like if Jem was still alive, the Guardians could be like, oh, Jem, how did you do this? And
Right.
call her over and deal with that. But like all these parties, they don't even know who Jem really was, and they don't know that this has happened before, and all the NPCs that did are dying or dead.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they were alive, they're not strong enough, nor do they have the same knowledge nor like there's also bigger threats. There's just a lot. There's a lot to learn and a lot to figure out.
So, what do you see the Guardians doing since we are now completely separate from Petornia, right?
Hmm.
I know that when we left originally, our goal was to thin out some of Kishta's disciples, but I think that the goal now is to interact less with Kishta and what she's doing, because that's sort of what the whole point of the Arc 3 parties is, right?
Hmm.
So we probably want to do less with that and more with our own thing in Kitria, right?
Hmm.
How do you see us continuing to, what's the way to word this? How do you see us continuing to move forward without stepping on the toes of the Arc 3 parties? What sort of things do you think we could get up to without making everything else seem kind of pointless by proxy?
Well, that's the good thing is that part of why this plan works out so well is that while time is passing in Petornia, you guys are still 500 years ago. So you will have seen 500 years pass, but all of these parties will have seen entire arcs pass, and a roughly amount about the time that Arc 8 and Arc 9 start to get here, it will have been enough time that you guys can are like ready to come back and fight with them.
I see.
But your time in Kitria, I see a lot of figuring out what is going on and sort of carving a path for the worlds.
Mm-hmm.
New Missport got a long way to go.
It does. But I think taking down Super Mega Walmart is going to be a very good place to start.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe not taking down. Seeing what needs to happen there. Let's put it
Yeah,
that way.
and
Uh, Hello.
learning
I
what's
Oh.
made
going on.
it.
Oh, the nerd
Hello.
made it. I hope you brought
Hi.
questions because I was starting to run out of them.
I've got a couple. Honestly, there's some from like last session too that I meant to ask and totally forgot to ask about.
If it's
So,
all right, while you formulate that, I gotta step away for a hot second. I got a pee break.
Pee break. Here, I can go to be right back because I need to use the restroom too.
alright.
Okay, and everything is now unmuted, so we can discuss a little bit.
Alright. So, what questions have you asked so far, so I don't ask the same ones?
Oh my god, a billion questions. If you ask a repeat question, we'll let you know because I've been asking him questions for 2 hours 14 minutes. A lot of my stuff though has been like arc 1 and 2 questions or asking questions about Dawn and Kishta. I've just been curious about a lot of things.
Okay, it should be fine then.
What sort of stuff are you curious about? Because I do want to formulate more questions with you if I can.
There's a few things I'm curious about, but I feel like a lot of it might be spoiler stuff, so I don't think I should be able to ask. Don't think I should ask it.
Oh, he'll tell you if you can't answer something because spoilers.
Okay.
I did have a spoiler question earlier. And he just said, you know, I hope this one individual isn't listening because this is a spoiler to you and your group. So he'll let us know if something is a spoiler. I don't know why I typed that. Trippy. Gosh. Tree-ippy. Yes, Tree. This is live. DM stepped away for a restroom break for just a minute. So we're just formulating more questions, taking some water, that sort of stuff.
Eating cereal.
Oh, you were in the... Yeah, so I went to be right back because I also went to the restroom. Yes, eating cereal. Getting ready to DM D&D tonight because that got thrown on me. That was insane.
I thought you'd volunteered for it.
Oh no, so one of our usual DMs is not going to, or I guess most of the usual DMs aren't going to be there tonight. So he asked if I was cool to run a table, and I said okay. I will die, but that's okay.
I will die.
That's fine. We all got to go eventually. If my time is DMing D&D in front of a bunch of people who have been playing longer than I've been alive, then so be it.
And dead.
So, I am curious though. What sort of questions are you planning to ask there? Are you gonna ask stuff about Asta or Kriv, or get more world questions, or what's up?
I've got some world questions. I've got questions about the statues again.
The statue. Oh, the ones we melted.
Yeah, the ones that are now just a heaping pile of molten steel.
Well, while he's away, I can ask you questions. And Tree, since you're in the chat, I can ask you questions. What have you guys enjoyed most about Petornia so far?
Are you talking about in our whole time of playing, or just in Act 3?
Let's say the entire time of playing.
I mean, I feel like it's kind of a no-brainer. It's just the absolute sheer complexity of the world building. Like, I don't think I've seen a single thing that was anywhere from any type of D&D book. Like, this has all been the DM's doing. And just that amount of, like, dedication and creativity to a whole world is mind-boggling to me.
Can't wait to meet the new characters. Tree, I also can't wait to meet your new character. You wanna tell us a little bit about them, and you know what they're all about, and also what happened to Elk.
Yeah, can we just kidnap Tree and like pull him into the call?
Wouldn't that be great? Actually, I think Tree is actually still in the server. Oh. Got another message as well. unless that was you. That was probably Tree. Let's see, it's about 3. Yeah. There we go. Actually, it's, on that point, I'm not sure what happened to most of the Lavender Circle individually. This is something that I was asking Avery about earlier, what happened with the Lavender Circle. But, there a lot of things, apparently. It went multiple different ways. Finding out the God of War is my dad, and my revenge arc to avenge my daughter. Ooh! So Kratos. but much more interesting, yeah. I'm sure. Well, and Kratos wasn't avenging his daughter. He was avenging his whole family that he killed at his own hand. So it's different. It's a different character altogether.
Unless Tree also accidentally killed his daughter.
That'd be awkward. Finding out wow, I've already got so many questions about your character. Did your dad, the God of War, kill your daughter, or how did that go down? Oh, I'm so interested. Give us all the juicy details.
Like, how did the daughter die? Please, trauma dump on the call.
Yes. More like adopted dad, but he raised you. I gotcha.
We live for the trauma.
Oh, and yeah, while we have you here, if you've got any questions for Avery, feel free to drop them. We're asking everything.
Exactly.
Anything and everything.
Hi.
Oh, welcome back. Well, nerd, you said you have questions?
I do. So, I have a couple of specific questions, some of them being about a little bit from events from the first session. But, So first off, whoever built the statues, did they do that expecting Asta in them, or did they expect Kriv in them to return?
They expected the OGs.
Okay. So they were expecting Kriv and Daedalus to return, and then just so happened to get Asta and Apollo instead.
Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. Follow-up question. Do we know or have we met the person who built the statues?
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess Skeldon. It was Skeldon for sure.
Was it Skeldon? Was that a yes? I can't tell what that was.
It was a spoiler.
Yeah.
Oh, he's going robo mode.
Just a little bit. Give him a second. Maybe more than just a little bit.
We're losing him.
I think I can answer that question without
Uh-oh.
Oh, there he goes.
Yeah. Well, the gist of what he was saying was he doesn't think he can answer that question without spoilers. That did remind me of another question I have, though, which is more a logistic question than anything, but do you remember who has the cores now?
I think we do right now.
Well,
We're supposed to give him don't think did we give him the I think we gave him the Babylon, but I don't remember.
Babylon is alive, so it would only make sense that we did give them to Babylon.
That's what we were planning on doing in the first place.
Well, at the very least, I would know that our group wouldn't have them. It would be the Black Hills that has them.
Yeah. Kish is just listening in on the call, like, interesting.
Oh, she was killed in Thandora's womb. Thandora. Oh, by Bimfor. Bimfor? I thought Bimfor was like a harmless house cat now.
It might have been before.
Oh, yeah, I guess that would make sense.
Oh, is he back?
Yes? Question mark. Oh.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you now.
So you said it's not you said it's a spoiler, but we have met them before?
Yeah.
Okay. So, follow-up question.
Mhm.
Was that actually Rorden Gamzee that sent us to go see the statues?
It wasn't Rorden, right? It was
Yeah.
a lady who was working in the shop?
Well,
Yeah.
I thought you said it
He
was
working
Rorden
there.
Gamzee. Yeah,
Well,
I found it
I was
very suspicious that it seems that no one knew the statues would melt, yet she knew to send Asta and Apollo to the statues for some reason. Very suspicious.
I think that was just a miss on my end because they were both who they said they were.
Okay.
They were nobody in disguise.
I did have a logistical question that nerd reminded me of. Who has the course right now? It should be the Black Hills, right?
I believe so.
Okay. I think that we were moving real fast last session and we didn't really, or at least I wasn't paying attention of who was holding what. But in my brain, we were meant to give them to Babylon. Babylon was going to get revived with the Black Hills party. We stayed behind, so it only makes sense to give them the cores.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just assuming we gave them to them wrapped up and probably should have communicated to them to not touch them. So that's the only thing.
Absolutely.
Any other burning questions, nerd?
Those are the main ones I had, honestly, involving that kind of stuff, but I do have more. I just gotta think of how to formulate them.
That's been me for the past 2 hours, 27 minutes. We do only have about a half hour left as well.
Yeah.
I genuinely can't believe that people could
Oh, there he goes again.
Yep.
sit in a call with me and ask me questions about something I created for 2 hours.
Well, I mean, you spent 10 years creating it, so...
Yeah.
Am I audible now?
You are.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's fine, man. It's fine.
To be like... You guys might know about the tears of Kishta, but the tears of Avery are heavy when his internet's bad.
How many levels do I get for consuming a tear of Avery?
None, but you get crippling schizophrenia.
Oh, no.
Oh.
The roasts,
God.
they started. Oh, no.
Out of left field from the top rope, baby.
Man, owlbear from the top rope over here.
From downtown.
Golly.
That's a good one. I need to hold on. I give you for that. I give you one of these.
Thank you. I immediately felt terrible for saying it.
You get inspiration at the start of next
Don't.
session.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I think it's funny.
Roast for your inspiration.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a question for Nerd.
Oh boy.
What are you gonna do with your level up bonus for hitting level 22? Because you can either take, what is it, 100 levels of a Kitria skill or 1 level of a Petornia skill?
Exactly.
What are you gonna do with it?
I don't know yet. Honestly, I think I'm going to. And this skill applies to Kriv, right? Not Asta.
Yeah, this is a crib skill.
I think that I do not think. Therefore, I am not am.
I am not am is the wildest sentence I'm going to hear all day long.
I'll be sure to use it later.
No, thank you. Please don't break my brain while I'm DMing. It is not going to end well.
Listen, I am in the top 99 percentile of Neanderthal genes with a 0.4%, so I understood exactly what you were saying.
Why do you have caveman pants?
I don't get that one.
Yes.
Neanderthal genes.
See, again, I think you might have some Neanderthal blood in you as well, because I understood.
My
Exactly.
brain simply cannot. I might be a little stupid, but that one went way over my head.
No,
Whoosh.
I think Mart and we're stupid.
No, just r/whoosh on that. He's right. Nerd's right. Way
Nah,
over
it's
my
not,
head.
it's not even that you're stupid. It's just that was such a stupid joke that like you had to be a certain sub level of intelligence to understand it.
Nah, bro, y'all are working on variant human jokes over there, and my brain is just standard rules as written human. Y'all get extra perks and everything, and I just don't know what I'm talking about.
I wouldn't call it a perk. It's kind of like a roguelite. You know what I'm talking about? Like where you start each run with a different perk or like different weapons. I got crippling depression, and I'm a quick-witted, joking nature, and Avery sees people who aren't there.
I just spent 6 years in college.
I'm playing a variant human with a homebrew class.
Where do the shadow demons play into that?
What's the homebrew class? What's it called?
What is it called?
And I need to know what the class and subclass are. That's important.
My class is probably Wing It.
Wing
The
it.
Wing It.
The winger.
And my subclass is Dumb Luck.
I need us all to take a BuzzFeed. What is your D&D class right now?
Hold on.
I'll do it. I'm not scared.
Hold on. Here, I'll link one.
Oh, perfect.
So we can all take the same one. The one thing I'll turn to BuzzFeed for, a stupid personality test.
They're always accurate. And they're always right. Always makes so much sense.
I gotta open up Opera GX because I don't want to open up the RAM theater any more than I already have. I'm not sponsored, but yeah, go download Opera GX. It's way better than Chrome.
I wish I was sponsored.
I'm not sponsored, but if you do, I'll put it in Petornia.
Right. Opera GX in Petornia.
It'll be canon. Well, You know what? If you don't sponsor us, you'll be one of those evil mega corporations like the one we're trying to take down. And
Yeah,
if you do,
if you don't sponsor us, you're Super Walmart.
If Beth Jesus wants to sponsor me, Kitria is about to become a way better place. Fuck it. If you give me better internet, I'll do whatever you want. I'm a whore for internet. I want that to go on the record.
I think everyone's a whore for the internet.
What level internet we talking about?
So
Only the best kind. I'm a whore for the internet, but I'm an expensive whore.
I just want to throw out on this now pick a food question. One of the options is chicken nuggets and french fries, and if you don't choose that, you're straight lying.
The fact you said that as I clicked the picture. Like, I was clicking it as you said that. I was sitting here like, is any question like, none of these are correct. This is the only right answer.
Hard to choose.
Honestly, and then the one right after that is pick a quote, and if you don't pick punch today.
Yes, that's the same one I clicked. Hey, no, we're too similar. Hold on. We're going to get the same class. I know it. I'm going to throw a curveball on the next one.
Oh my god.
And I'm not telling you what it is.
Live. Pick somewhere to live. I can already tell which one you're going to pick.
No, you can't. You don't know me.
Yes, I can.
You don't know me.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I got barbarian, fighter, or monk.
I got artificer, bard, or rogue.
Okay, so I actually have another question that I thought of about.
Wait. Hold on. You gotta wait till he finishes his quiz.
Alright. Sorry.
Pick a food. Ooh,
There's only one correct answer.
I don't know. These all seem to have meat in them.
You are vegetarian, so yeah. Well, no, there's one. There's a salad that doesn't have meat in it, right?
I didn't realize he was vegetarian.
I'm picking the salad.
I think the ramen even had meat in it. Had like a, yeah.
Yeah. Lost your here.
He's about to get druid. I can feel it in my bones.
Where do I live?
I got this feeling in my soul. I'm losing all control. It's the magic in my bones.
Oh, I'm a paladin or cleric.
Paladin or cleric, really?
Give me my class back, damn it!
Oh, that was fun.
Well, everybody, you heard it here first. If you pick a paladin or cleric, you win Petornia.
What? No. Hold on. We already said.
My two characters. That is literally my two characters. Let's go.
We already said if you pick a ranger, you're the best player and you win. That was already stated.
Oh, right. Okay.
You got get you baited.
Oh no! No, he takes it back.
Get you baited.
Or ranger. Or rogue, because that's my personal favorite class.
Basically, if you play any class in D&D, you win Petornia. Let's go.
Yeah, if you play any class.
We believe in equality out here, but
if you play Petornia, you win Petornia.
Yeah, as long as you don't hold on, I can think of something. Hold on.
As long as you don't try to see what the sound is made of.
No, I was gonna think of something like something just like that nobody would do.
See what the sound is made of.
No, see, no, that doesn't work anymore.
Unless you try to.
Well, it's not something you should do.
Unless you try to kill Todd.
Yeah, if you try to kill Todd or Dot, if you try to kill Dot, I'm coming after you. I'm sorry.
Now, did Kriv or Asta ever meet Dot? 'Cause I don't think I ever met them personally.
Yeah, you did. Kriv did. What? And Asta did.
Well, I know Asta did at the end of the session, like yesterday, but I meant like before that.
Oh, probably not before that, but Kriv did.
Mm-hmm.
He met him when we went to see Iktar one of those times, because Dot has been with Iktar for a while now.
all that therapy so he could go and die.
Actually, that also raises another question.
Oh no.
How is Dot immortal because he's made of stone?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, dude, what a guy! I'm so glad he's going back to Kitria, or he's going to Kitria.
Yeah, no, Warforged, golems, all of those kinds of things are inherently immortal.
Hmm. If if Apollo dies, I already know what I'm going to be playing for my next character.
Is it the immortal character?
No, I recently bought some new source books on D&D Beyond, and there was
Oh.
a wizard subclass in one of them, I think, that was like a chronomancer, like a time wizard.
Wizard time, motherfucker!
I just
Time ball.
it just seems really cool.
You do like the virtual insanity slide to somebody, and when you touch them, they instantly age like 100 years and die.
It's interesting that you bring that up.
Yeah.
We've had one of those in Petornia that you played with, actually.
Are you talking Griffin?
No. You've played with him a couple times, actually a lot. You've spent a lot of time with him.
Is this an NPC or a player?
A player.
Ooh.
Oh, Tree says to tell you that he is here. By the way, Avery, he's in chat, in stream chat.
I love you, Tree. You're my boy. You're my boy.
My homie, my brother from another mother.
Avery saying he doesn't have favorites, but then Tree appears.
Listen, I
Oh.
love Tree.
I lied.
He's my
I lied. I didn't want to use the chronomancy. I wanted to use the graviturgy, gravity magic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, freaking what's his name? God, I forgot his name. Rodon from Elden Ring.
Oh yeah, I forgot about him. I was thinking like, and I'm about to sound like a huge nerd weeb here.
The dude from Eden's Gate.
No,
Eden Zero, whatever
from
it's called.
Naruto, the little short, Tsukikage, I think he was.
Yeah, the third. I don't think they ever give him an actual name. He's just known as the Tsukikage.
No, his name was like Oki or something like that.
Well, I was just gonna say, there's certain vampire chronomancer wizard that a lot of people knew.
Oh, is that how he time traveled?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that Lucian was a wizard. I thought he was like a... Well...
It's wizard time, motherfucker.
He became a paladin at some point, didn't he?
Yep. He sure did.
Oh, there's another question. See, every time we talk about something...
Oh.
Every time we talk about something, I think of another question. How do you do respecs for characters that decide that they want to try something new?
If you have a good lore reason,
Lower reason as to why you want to switch.
yeah, if you have a good lore reason and why it works, I'm totally down with that.
Sick. Since you're homebrewing our levels above level 20, can I ask what that means for... You know, our some of our characters have things that continue to grow with them as we level up. Like, like Kriv's breath attack. Doesn't yours get more powerful as you level up?
It gets more powerful, and the saving throw for it becomes higher.
Yeah, so for stuff like that, does that continue to level up with us, or...
Or is that capped at level... whatchamacallit? Like, what, level 20?
Well, if it's like a class thing, your class isn't exactly going above level 20.
Right, but for like actual like Kriv's breath attack, that's a race thing, not a class thing.
Yeah, then that would continue to grow with you. And I think it would just grow at the same rate as it did before.
Oh my gosh, Tree's new character art. I want to protect them so much.
Where did Tree post that character art at? I need to see it.
It's an art.
You know, I should have done that. That's on me. I should have already figured. Oh my god, they're just a little fella.
I want to protect, and they're going on a revenge arc to to avenge their murdered daughter. Oh my gosh.
Oh my god, that poor thing.
Oh
Can we help
no.
him? Nah, fuck whatever we're about to do. We gotta go help this guy find the guy who killed his daughter. Cause like, look at that face.
Actually, nerd, it's a good thing you bring that up because one thing that Avery was talking about was sort of defining the separation between Kitria and Petornia. You know, with
Right.
our Kitria characters being so powerful, it does not make sense for them to interact very much with additional like with Petornia characters because
Oh
I
yeah,
mean
of course.
nothing that's at
That,
our level is going to be even approachable for them, and nothing at their level is going to be even a pebble to us. So it doesn't make sense for us to mix quite yet.
yeah, no, I get that.
So I think it's going to be interesting determining when we get to the point of okay, it's time for the Guardians to return to Petornia, or okay, it's time for uh, Iktar's Chosen to finally return to Kitria and do something with it. Like it's going to be
It's gonna be a minute.
a minute for sure, but it's also going to be really interesting to watch our new characters grow to the point of being as powerful as the Guardians.
Mhm.
It also means that the Guardians need to take more vacation episodes.
Christmas, here we come.
I'd say
Yeah.
that's a good point. Do we have a Christmas episode coming?
We do.
Oh
Also,
snaps!
this whole thing kind of reminds me of something I did want to kind of touch on was that the part I'm most excited for with that whole thing is seeing the different experiences these characters are gonna have.
Yeah, I'm so excited to see how Asta is different from Kriv and how Apollo is different from Daedalus.
Like a
Because
big, sorry,
oh no, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
Oh, all I was gonna say is that I still don't know everything about how Apollo reacts to things or how his view of everything differs and is shaped by Daedalus's view of everything.
Mhm.
That's all I had. That's all I had.
All I was gonna say is like, I loved it when uh Apollo like looked at Iktar and was disappointed in him because it showed like it was very good example of like hmm hmm it was a very good example of how like he doesn't share the exact same experiences and beliefs as his father.
Right. I think in that moment, had it been Daedalus, he would have tried to find an alternate solution to ease Iktar's suffering, whereas Apollo had spent, his entire life, anytime he had heard about Iktar, it'd be about how he was this amazing dragon that was existing to share in the pain of the entire world, and he had done so much to help the Guardians, and he had been painted in such a positive light that when he saw this depressed, suffering being that was basically yearning for death, it kind of shattered his worldview of that.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, another question for nerd. Let's go.
Oh god, why am I in the hot seat?
DM,
It's way too warm.
tell me, tell me.
All right, what's the question?
the question is how is Asta's worldview shaped by the stories that he's heard from the Guardians, and how has he been receiving everything so far? Like, how's the world beginning to shape up in actuality to Asta versus what it was like for Kriv?
That is an excellent question that I need a second to compile that answer to. So, Kriv never wanted to sugarcoat how exactly the world was for um Asta. I mean, for Kriv, when Kriv was by himself before he met the Guardians, I don't want to say he met the worst of it, but I mean, a Dragonborn by himself out in the world that is openly following a goddess that most people hate, it's not a good time for him. So Asta not only grew up knowing that some people, like, the reality of the world, that some people just aren't nice, but also grew up with knowing that some people are misunderstood and that everyone deserves a chance to understand and, like, have that respect.
Mm-hmm.
And so he didn't really go into Petornia with any set expectations, but more a blank canvas to see exactly what is in store for him. And while he understands that his dad doesn't have any expectations for him, he has expectations for himself. I mean, his dad is the guy that held up the sky, for God's sake. Like, he has to do something spectacular. And that's part of the reason why he was so mad when dealing with Iktar and Rome, was that he hadn't really done anything yet. Like, here he is in front of this giant, not giant, but you know what I mean, like this all-powerful dragon that he's heard legends of constantly, and he's dropping the ball basically, and dropping the ball in the way that's in no way within his control.
Mm-hmm.
That's also why at the end he kind of sized himself up to Yen. He wanted to be like, you know, this is me. I know it's kind of been a rough patch so far, but I'm just getting started. Like, I've still got a lot left in the tank to give, and I'm willing to give it. If that makes any lick of sense.
I think so.
Certainly does. I have a bit of a curveball question that's a two-parter for both of you.
Oh boy. DM asked the questions. Uno reverse card.
Yep. Who do you think, out of all the people you've met, this is an alternate universe where I don't exist or something. Of all of the players you've met or heard of, who do you think would be best suited or would be most likely to be the one running Petornia other than me, and why?
Ike.
Doubt.
It's gonna be Daedalus.
No.
Yes. It's Daedalus. I can't explain it. It's Daedalus. He's the most, other than you, he's the most level-headed, most intellectually sound person I've met so far. And I feel, and knowing him for, God, it's almost in 10, 11 years I've known Daedalus. And knowing him for that long and knowing how he is as a person, I know he'd be the best pick other than you. Simply because I know he would do it the most justice.
For my money, it would be a toss-up between three people. It would be Zwei, because he's shown so much interest in the inner workings of the rules of how the universe works. Zim, because he has shown so much interest in actually taking over and DMing in Petornia before.
Exactly.
And Griffin, because if there were anyone who could recall any piece of obscure lore, it was him. Like,
see, mine would have been Zim as well.
You ain't getting rid of us that easily. This isn't an opportunity for you to go ask him to take over. You ain't getting away from us that easily.
No. I'm not. I wouldn't want to make Zem do that because it kind of would kill the experience of Petornia.
Just slowly puts the duct tape away, like that's what I thought.
this guy. We do only have 5 more minutes before I need to skedaddle so I can set up for my next session. So is there anything that anybody wants to get out there really quickly?
Me. So, I've kind of felt like this for a while, and I haven't really asked about it yet. but what is the relationship between Yen and Kishta? Because I've always felt like Yen and Kishta are kind of the antithesis of each other, or
Mm-hmm.
antithesis, or however you pronounce that. And then
Mm-hmm.
seeing them come together to help bury Iktar yesterday kind of made it seem it was less like it seemed like there was like a familial bond there that I hadn't quite looked at yet.
Mm, you're correct in your original belief. They absolutely hate each other. That was not a them being friends. That was a out of the respect of Iktar
Oh no
thing.
no no no! Like I get that. I'm saying I meant familial as in like almost sisters, but at the same time not. It seems like they're kind of two sides of the same coin kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
Do they
Well,
have
they
do they have beef the same way that Yin has beef with Fate?
yes,
I mean,
very much.
in a way, Kishta is the sword of fate, so that makes sense.
Well, no,
Yeah.
Fate is his own being entirely as well that Kishta has issue with.
Well, in a weird way, yeah. It goes on to a lot of very deep levels, but essentially Yen is to Kishta what fate is to Kriv.
Mm.
Oh, is fate like well, so so Kriv is to fate like Yen is to Kishta. What do you mean by that?
I mean it as in Kishta is fate's champion.
Oh, I didn't even know she had a champion. I thought she just had her disciples.
No, she is the champion. She is the champion of fate.
Okay,
I
so
didn't
Yen is to fate like Kriv is to Kishta.
see. I didn't realize that Fate was fighting on the same side as Kishta.
Well, Kishta is fighting for fate.
Here, I thought. Wait, no, I'm thinking Destiny. I'm thinking Destiny. Hold on, let me backtrack.
Yeah,
I'm thinking of a different person.
fate is the boss. He's the ultimate, and Kishta enacts fate's will.
Right. See, that's one thing that I sometimes trip up over is Fate and Destiny are two separate beings.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my brain associating words with synonyms, you know.
So I guess Kishta and Fate's relationship is similar to Yen and Kriv's relationship.
Mm.
But Yen and Kishta, they don't get along. They're not related, but they just kind of they came together out of respect for the dead.
Makes sense.
If I may say anything,
Of
um,
course.
it is that all of you are absolutely fantastic.
No, you're
You
breathtaking.
know, you're incredible. I love seeing you guys interact with the world. I'm so happy that I can run Petornia and have people that just show up. Not only that they show up, but they're excited and they engage with the world. They're willing to kind of trust me on some things. You're all so absolutely fantastic.
Again, no, you're breathtaking.
I'm excited to see how each of these characters continues to grow and how we gain the trust of some, lose the trust of others, how they gain our trust and lose our trust. I'm excited to see the role play of everyone coming together.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Did everybody feel free and clear there?
Yeah, I feel pretty good about it.
Okay. I'll send us to ending soon for this last, I guess, minute 40. We can make it even 3 hours there. And we can just chat it out for a little bit.
I'm beating up a dog. Me.
don't fight your dog. Your dog got hands. He's gonna put you in the hospital.
I got hands too. Me. Oh, he's fighting back. Oh shit. Me. He's trying to climb up into my lap, and he's not doing it because he is very wide for a small dog.
Well, Avery, you have 1 minute to say goodbye to your lovely audience. You handsome devil, you.
Again, I just can't praise all of you enough and thank all of you enough. I genuinely appreciate all of you. It's so great to have gotten to know all of you, to have gotten to, like, do this. Like, it's so crazy to me, the shocking amount of love that Petornia gets, and even I get. Like, it's just crazy how kind all of you are.
Oh god, y'all attack.
This guy.
I love you guys.
I love you too, man. I love you too.
You my boy. You my boy.
You my homie. You my dog.
My boys.
All right. Well, I'm excited to see you next Friday. I'm excited to see where the Guardians go. I'm excited to hit up Chat Noir for.
I'm excited to go
quests.
kick Beth Jesus in the face.
Man,
Yes.
so ready to go kick Beth Jesus in the face. Although, he is giving people free healthcare. That's the whole thing. Anyway, I'll see you guys next Friday.
See